Welcome back. A one-of-a-kind exhibition, O'Keeffe and More. It compares the work of two iconic modernists, that is American painter Georgia O'Keeffe and British sculptor Henry Moore. Well, we are joined this morning by Albuquerque Museum Director, our good friend Andrew Connors, telling us more about this wonderful exhibition and how we can all check it out. Andrew, always good to have you with us.
It's great to be here. Thanks so much, David.
Yeah, and this is something cool, again, that, along with many of the other exhibitions that are taking place there, but let's talk about this new one. What can folks see?
Well, this exhibition, as you said, is one of a kind because it compares two different artists that really didn't have much connection, except that they both looked at the natural world and were inspired by natural forms. They were inspired by rocks and bones and tree forms, and they used that to abstract them and to allow us to really see the world around us in a very, very different way.
Explore the two different mediums, but to come back to the same kind of focus, right?
Exactly. Georgia O'Keeffe was a painter, Henry Moore was a sculptor, and Henry Moore, based in England, is probably less known here in New Mexico than Georgia O'Keeffe is, but both of them really allowed us to look through the natural forms and find something within ourselves, to discover the way that we can perceive the world and find in things that we might overlook on an ordinary basis, find in them new worlds and new ways of understanding our existence in this presence.
And I think that's the beauty of what we have here in New Mexico. Of course, we know Georgia O'Keeffe's tied to Albuquerque in northern New Mexico. But when you see her works, whether you see it there at her museum or whether you see it now like on display at the Albuquerque Museum, you get a fresh sense of it every time you see it again.
Yeah, I think that's what good artists do. Good artists give us the opportunity to see something new every time we look. And Georgia O'Keeffe in this exhibition really focuses on stones and bones, but Henry Moore does the same thing. And sometimes literally he took a bone and he would add plaster to it or clay to it and then cast that in a much larger scale. So this little tiny form, this little tiny rock or a bit of a pelvis bone then becomes blown up in monumental form. And Georgia O'Keeffe did the same thing. She's famous for her flower paintings, and often a very, very small flower, which she said ordinarily you would just walk right past it. When she paints them big, you have to see it. You have to notice it. And both of these artists really explore that idea of scale and blowing things up or looking through a small hole in a rock or a small hole in a pelvis and seeing the rest of the world through that hole.
Yeah, I mean, it's a whole different perspective. I mean, like you say, it's something that you would just casually walk by and probably ignore. You're like, okay, well, it opened my mind, my vision up to something else.
Absolutely. And I think juxtaposing these two artists allows us to see both of them differently. And Henry Moore, when I was growing up, any museum, art museum worth its salt, had a monumental Henry Moore sculpture outside. Now he's probably a little bit less known in the United States, but this exhibition recreates sections of both of their studios so that you can see the way that they accumulated stuff and incorporated those objects, basically natural forms, into Georgia O'Keeffe's paintings and Henry Moore's sculptures.
And again, all the more reason to go check out the exhibition because, we do know Georgia O'Keeffe, but we don't know Henry Moore's stuff. So
yeah, exactly. And the exhibition, I think, really is a beautiful opportunity for us to celebrate the charm and attractiveness and intrigue that can be found in the things that we ordinarily overlook.
Wow. Again, this is kicking off Saturday?
Exactly. Saturday is our members opening from 9 until 1, and then at 1 o'clock the public is welcome to come in and see the exhibition, which will remain on view through the 31st of December, the end of the year.
You got some time to check it out. Andrew, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
It's great to be here. Thanks so much, David. Yep.